Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Education Roundtable. This is a show sponsored by the District Parent Coordinating Council, where we try to bring all the education stakeholders, people who make a difference in education, people who have have decision-making power as it relates to education, and really talk about the issues that we need to address to ensure that all of our children receive a quality education. I'm Sam Radford, I'm your host, and
I'm Patricia Elliott.
I'm the Vice President for the District Parent Coordinating Council, and we are really excited today because we are really fortunate in having one of the education stakeholders who have been a real supporter of parents. A lot of education stakeholders, elected officials have given us a lot of good encouraging words and talked a really positive way about District Parent Coordinating Council. But when you start measuring by what people have done, people who have shown up at the DPCC meeting, people who have supported parents with actual legislation, actual policies, there's none that can match the guest that we have today. Assemblywoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes have really stepped up. She has invited the DPCC to Albany to be on the floor of the Assembly. She has put legislation in. And so when we talk about a partner in education, she has been a partner to parents, and we are really, really excited and honored to have her here with us today. So thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. I'm pleased to be here. You all are doing great work. I tell people everywhere I go how proud I am of your organization. And I think it's the most inspiring thing that has happened for the school district in decades, that the parents begin to organize themselves and take control of what's really theirs.
And what makes it really, keeps the momentum going, because so often parents have made efforts to get organized, and then by not getting key support, you kind of like the momentum, parents get discouraged. But when you have legislators like you who hear parents' voice and really understand the need to support the parent issues, to the point of putting legislation out there to put power into parents' hands, that really makes a difference. So again, we want to thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm really hopeful that we can begin some real conversations around that legislation, some real negotiation sessions, some strategy to make sure that some of that happens. Now, in government, it is an art of compromise. You put down your opinion on the table, somebody else comes with theirs, and you go back and forth until you come up with something that everybody can agree on. Right. And I can agree on whatever, if there are any changes, as long as it continues to empower parents. And if it empowers parents, then I believe we're going to get to a position where we have a much better education coming out of the public school system. If it doesn't empower parents, then I'm going to have to fight back until we get to that point. But right now, as you met the chair of the Legislative Education Committee, and she's not a big fan of Parent Trigger. And that's mostly because she's, I think she's pretty close to organized labor. And so am I, quite frankly. Right. I think that's one of the most prized rights we have as Americans, is the right to organize. Right. So she is a little hesitant about it, but I don't think that she's going to continue to be able to deny some discussion on it. So we're just going to keep pushing her and pushing her and pushing her until she at least has the dialogue. And I think when she does have the dialogue with an open mind, that she's going to see that it's not what the opponents of it are making it out to be. Right. It's not about taking anything from anybody. It's about adding something to the population that we're supposed to be serving in this system, the students.
And that's a great point. And we're going to talk a little bit later about specifically the parent trigger and give people a little bit of background. But the important part of what you said is that it gives parents a seat at the table. And that's ultimately to be at the table negotiating, doing what you're talking about is what's been absent. Kind of people have been, I've been in meetings where actually unions have represented the voice of parents. They say we represent, teachers and parents, and so to be able to be at the negotiating table, the mayor has also, provided some great leadership, in that he has held a couple stakeholders meetings to make sure parents have had a seat at the table. And so we've had a real change, a shift in focus to be able to make sure parents have a seat at the table. And that's really what's been important. But today we want to focus on three different issues, parent trigger being one of them. But we want to start off with an initiative that has been really something that on a grassroots level, community members have been questioning, community members have been raising, and you actually stepped up to do something about it. In this community, we have a real active support of Little League sports. And we have a lot of
big time.
Exactly. All you got to do is any Saturday morning go down to any of the fields, and you see that we have parents participate in Little League sports.
Absolutely.
But in the Buffalo Public School District, in order to be a coach, even though we got all these kids in the school district, in order to be a coach in the Buffalo Public School District, you have to be a certified teacher. And that really has put Buffalo in a position where we have not been able to attract the best talent to coach our children. Matter of fact, our most talented children get recruited to suburban and rural school district because they have, actual coaches, versus having teachers. And so one of the things that parents have been organizing with coaches, is to try to get the teachers to sign an MOU to give us the right to have our own coaches, to be able to hire coaches, just the best qualified person for the job. Absolutely. Versus a teacher. But you've organized a forum, that kind of like to emphasize the value of athletics and education. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
And when the parents brought that issue to me, I was like astounded that here's a venue, if you will, that will get a kid to college, quite frankly, paid for. And we're not doing the best we can in the district to make sure that they have that opportunity. Parents need to know that. So that's why we figured it makes sense to do this community forum, have some people there who understand this at its highest level, including the athletic director at the University of Buffalo, Ward Manuel, the basketball coach at Buffalo State College, Fadri Ansari, two athletic directors from suburban school districts, Williamsville and Sweet Home. They understand this real well, as well as the athletic director for the Buffalo district as well. And I bet in many ways he understands this as well. But again, when the contract says what management does what the contract says. And unfortunately, I think that's a negative for our student population. The title of the seminar or the community meeting is called Athletics plus Academics equals Success. It really should say athletics plus academics equals scholarship. Because it does.
That's right.
And it very well could. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the commercial. I think it's Geico commercial, where the parents are mentioning that they're a little low on income, and they want to they're teaching their 4-year-old kid how to dunk.
And the kid, on the roof.
and when he does it, she says scholarship, because you know what? There is $1 billion a year, $1 billion that goes to scholarships every year for athletic scholarships for males and females for every sport you can imagine, including rowing. You can get a scholarship for it, but you got to be prepared for that. And you have to understand how to get scouts from those universities that do scouting to come up to your school and make sure they're taking a look at your athletes. You have to make sure the kid is doing well academically, because no college is gonna want to pay you a full scholarship just because you're a great athlete. They need you to be able to read too.
That's nice.
They need you to be able to read and write and compute.
That's
so
right.
I think when you put those two things together properly, you are going to come out with a good result. And for a lot of parents who, they know that their son likes basketball a lot, or he likes football a lot, and they can envision them being in professional sports someday. But first they got to get through college.
Right.
And sometimes that's the barrier, because you don't know how you're going to pay for college. Well, I'm telling you, there's $1 billion out there for you. All you got to do is get yourself prepared and go meet the opportunity and get it, because it's there.
I've heard you say something along the lines that I thought was really interesting. In a school district where we have a 75% black male dropout rate, I've heard you talk about the fact here's an opportunity where something that black males enjoy doing. Here's an opportunity to really work with them. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, because then you get to have the opportunity to see more black men in the school system. Because you could probably look at a kid who is acting out in a way that'll get a different reaction than if I looked at him. Because you're going to have a different sort of sternness about you. And I think sometimes that's just necessary in the system, particularly in a society where we really do lack civility. We don't know how to talk to each other. We don't know how to treat each other. So these children come to school knowing and doing some ignorant things that they either see at home, see in the community, or see on TV.
Right.
And they act it out in school. But at some point you got to learn that when you get in school, now you're under an authority that somebody else is in charge, and it's not you. And I think a man has the ability to demonstrate that, particularly to male students, a lot better than white women or black women. So the opportunity to get more black men in schools as coaches or coaches assistants or teacher assistants or whatever, I think is a good thing. We should always be looking to do that. The fact that teachers' contracts eliminates that opportunity, I think is a huge disservice to the student population and their parents.
And the fact that, it's almost, I hate to use this term, but in terms of the outcomes that we're getting as a result of it, that's really where the larger concern is at. Now we have teachers who negotiate to have a contract to increase the pay for teachers, but does not measure the outcome of, what's happening for students. And then the fact that it only goes on in Buffalo. There are 97 school districts in Western New York, only one school district where you have to be a certified teacher to be a coach is in Buffalo. And so really that becomes the underlying problem that must be addressed.
Well, we hope that these athletic directors will speak to those kind of issues. And, once parents get a higher level of understanding of what the potential is, then they can begin demanding what they want to see. Right now, maybe they're not sure, or maybe they don't know. And maybe they're not organized in the right numbers to say, we need this kind of change here. Mm-hmm. But in a community that has such high unemployment rates, a lot of it is because, these things are arranged so that we have high unemployment rates. Why would you not have a person who graduated from Buffalo School, went on to college to play ball, played in a professional league? Why would you not have them in your school system working with your children so they can follow that route? Just because they don't have a teacher certification? Yeah. Maybe they don't want to be a teacher. They want to own a business.
That's right.
Exactly.
So they didn't prepare for that. That's no reason to leave them out when they have a skill that can be offered. And I think that's not only is it a disservice, but it actually perpetuates the unemployment rates in our community.
That's right.
Because there's so many rules and regulations that knock you out before you even get there. There are a lot of things that go on in the school district that does not require a certified teacher necessarily to perform the duties.
And coaching is one of them.
And coaching is one of them.
Yeah. Even look at somebody like
attendance
Alona Hill.
Officers is another.
Exactly. Just look at somebody like Alona Hill who has the kind of skill and capacity she has, but don't have a teaching certification, so she can't come in and teach at Performing Arts High School. It makes no sense at all. The coach of the Buffalo Bills couldn't come in and get a job. But a person who has no experience at football coaching, but is a certified teacher, can come in and coach.
Well, you know what? I think teachers, they negotiate and come up with their contractual ideas based on their own interests, and you got to respect them for that, because that's why they organize in their own to protect themselves. But I think at some point they also have to have some more the interests of the children have to be bigger than their own personal interests.
Right.
And if that ever happens, contracts will get changed, and so that things that are barriers to students getting a good education will be removed, and and the teachers will still be protected against management. Well, right now, unfortunately, in Buffalo, the district does not manage the teachers. The contract manages the district.
No question.
It's just that simple.
Yeah, no question, and I think so.
So this event is going to happen. I'm sorry, I should have said the date.
Yeah.
It's October the 26th.
At Gateway Longview.
Yeah, at Gateway Longview. Thank you for helping me, sister. From 7 to 9 o'clock. And again, this is something that's sponsored by my office jointly with DPCC. Mm-hmm. And the interest is to get the community educated about what the opportunities are for their children to pursue their athletic desires as well as their academic needs in a direction towards a scholarship. There's so many of them out there. And I will add that a lot of what the Buffalo community is doing, as well as other communities across the country, is they're creating new industries. Mm-hmm. And we're creating a new industry, bioinformatics, the Buffalo Medical Corridor. All of these jobs that are being created are going to require a knowledge. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get them like you used to get at Bethlehem Still, where you walk in the door and you can, push a lever and all day long.
The days is over.
That's over. We lifting something, being able to lift heavy items. Those days are kind of over too. Mm-hmm. You're gonna need to have some knowledge base, and so there's some. I want to say 2,500 two-year colleges in this country that offer scholarships for sports.
That's right.
So even if you can just get to the associate's level, that's going to get you closer to being able to be a viable candidate in the job market of not only the future but of today.
And that associates, people kind of like sleep that in a lot of ways. But I heard the president of ECC talked about, starting 5 years ago, that over half the students at ECC have a bachelor's degree. So you have students who go get a 4-year degree or who are coming back to get them skill sets associated with, you know, an associate's degree, and because they're looking for some kind of job that, you know, is not just, you know, academic in nature, but they really have to have some job where you have to have some skills to be able to do some things. And so a lot of people going back to school to get it, and you get it at that 2-year college.
And actually, I remember as a county legislator when Erie Community College began focusing on its athletic departments. Prior to that, you didn't really need to have dormitories for ECC because most people were local people who attended the college. But when you begin to recruit, you know, athletes from out of the area, they've got to have somewhere to stay. And so now there's a dormitory around the college, and again they provide scholarships for good athletes. So you know, for parents who think that, you know, there's no way they can ever be able to send their kid to college, yes, there is. It's going to call for focus, discipline, and an active engagement of the parent, student, and the teachers in order to get it done.
And so this is something that we're going to, you know, obviously this is not a short-term battle. I'm saying hopefully
no, it's a long-term.
It's a long-term battle, but this is part of the battle. So what we're asking parents to do is to, first of all, we ultimately need in the short term the teachers union to sign an MOU to be able to allow for the coaches to be able to be hired and not be certified teachers. But this is going to go a long way into giving you information that you're going to need. So if you can make it out to the forum, please come out to the forum. Again, that's Wednesday, October 26th from 7 to 9 at the Gateway Longview Center. And in any contribution, please join us for the DPCC meeting. The first Tuesday of every month, we have a coaches committee who meet to begin to talk about how do we negotiate with teachers to be able to get this done for our children. Because if we don't do it for our children, it's not going to happen to our children. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is grad up.
Grad up, but before we go to grad up, I was pondering a question as you talked, and I just couldn't find the right segue in. I wanted to talk more about the coaches and the teachers and the fact that there is not the schools or the colleges aren't putting out as many black male teachers. In my school, we have teacher training. Our school is one of those schools that teachers come and get trained on how to teach. And out of maybe 50 of those students from Buff State College is one black male individual, and the truth of the matter is that, you know, there's just not enough black male teachers. So what is it that you see that can happen to
well,
make
you know, I think there are two reasons for that. There's not a lot of not a lot of them in the pipeline.
Okay.
I mean, if you get to 4th grade and get, you know, disenchanted for whatever reason, or get assigned to, you know, special ed because you are acting out, or you never make it to graduation, you're not going to end up in college. And you're certainly not going to aspire to be a teacher. You know, I think teachers have to be motivated at early ages. You know, I don't think you go through high school and get to college and say, oh, now I want to be a teacher. I think that's got to start early, and I think we have to start encouraging our young black men to want to be a teacher so they can help raise the rest of the community.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, there's not a lot of money in teaching. I mean, you're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna make a lot of money. I don't even think teachers make, what do they make? I don't even know what they make, about 60,000. And that's a good salary, don't get me wrong. But, you know, most guys generally are, you know, looking to, you know, raise a family, they're looking to make more money than that. So I think that's generally why women are the ones who end up being teachers.
Yeah, majority of the people at my school are young women. I mean, early 20, single white females. Some of them may be single mothers even. But even the young men, majority of them are young white men. But you mentioned something just now. You said if you take 4th graders who have for some reason become disenchanted with their education, being put in special ed or because they're acting out, I guess there's no way to kind of divert the energy. So what you're saying, I'm asking, is that if we now begin with your Grad Up 2020 process, begin to grow students into wanting to become teachers.
Exactly.
You know, maybe pull together, I guess, curriculums and programs and initiatives that would, you know, let's sponsor this group of students to become teachers, all who want to become teachers, all who want to become doctors, all who want to become whatever.
Exactly.
Have you lined up different professionals who are able to motivate
not at that level, but, you know, exactly what you're saying is what some people have done. If you think about those 3 doctors, the 3 African-American doctors who, when they were in high school, all decided we're going to be doctors. And they stayed with each other the entire time through one getting incarcerated, They stayed with each other and now they're all doctors. But they had a plan. And I'd ask you, how many fourth graders in the Buffalo school system do you think already know they're going to college?
Right.
I venture to say the number is pretty small.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who come from parents who both went to college themselves. And, you know, they're raising them to go to college.
And even the
And
ones
there's
who,
some children who are not being raised to go to college.
Exactly.
Oh.
And so now we got to start raising them to go to college. So the first thing that Grads Up is going to do, the first thing is have this conversation with parents and students and say, we're going to provide the money for your kid to go to college. All you have to do is sign your name on a dotted line that you're going to adhere to these goals for the kid, for yourself, and that when they graduate in 2020, the money will be there for them to go to school.
That's awesome.
That's exciting.
Now you're changing the whole dynamic. And then you can begin to think about, well, what are you going to be when you go to college? If you haven't even thought about going to college, why would you even be thinking about being a teacher? You wouldn't, or a lawyer, or a doctor, or anything else. And so these things have to be, you know, you have to be raised into that, to be acculturized into it.
That's a huge hurdle that you just laid out, because there are a number of kids who want to go to college. You know, and they go through high school looking forward to going to college, and then they get to the point of going to college, and the money is not there.
And the money is
they
not
just can't
there.
go to college. So now you're actually addressing that. So if you can go back and just kind of capture for us what Grad Up 2020 is.
Well, you know, the birth of Grad Up 2020 came as after SUNY 2020 was passed in Albany, and you know, we worked on that legislation as a delegation for like 3 years, and quite frankly, I did a lot of the work, a lot. And, you know, to come home with the success of SUNY 2020, because, you know, UB's strategic plan was so good that we couldn't get it done without it happening in 3 other places. So it didn't end up being UB 2020, it ended up being SUNY 2020, which I think is quite a compliment,
Yes.
you know, of a plan. So coming home and seeing that had happened, and then at the same time listening to the top media headline, which was, you know, African American graduation rates amongst males being so low. And, you know, it just, like in the middle of the night, I said, well, hey, what did you just do? You worked for 3 years for somebody else's constituency, because yours can't take advantage of SUNY 2020 if they haven't graduated from high school and going to college. And so, you know, the next day I got all of my staff on a conference call. It's like, hey, listen, we got to come up with something. We got to do something. We just can't let this go by the wayside. This entire community came out in support of SUNY 2020. We need them to come out in support of making sure that every 4th grade student we're saying 4th grade, because those are the students in the class of 2020.
Right.
We need to come up with some strategy to make sure that they all graduate at 100%. And so I think you know, what we came up with is that we will organize community-based organizations, no matter what service they deliver, to adopt a class. It could be the Big Brothers, Big Sisters. It could be the CAO. It could be the Urban League. It could be the Blind Association. It could be anyone who says, yes, you know what, we agree that every kid can graduate. And we're going to adopt this class, and we're going to make a minimum commitment at least twice a month. Somehow our agency is going to be engaged with this class and their family, and we're going to obviously be following whatever the teacher's development plans, academic plans are. Everything based on what the teacher has already proposed. And then we're going to get another group of people who were previous Buffalo Public School students who are off somewhere in the world doing fabulous things. And we're going to get them to commit to with their resources as well as with their time to a class, to a 4th grade class. And they can communicate with them by Skype, they can write them letters, they can email, they can send them their bio, they can send them something from their trade. I don't know if they're in the NBA, maybe they want to send them all sneakers. I mean, I just don't know what they could possibly do, but we're just going to open the door for them, but give back. And then we're asking folks to become substitute teachers, only in PLA schools. As a matter of fact, I think my application already went in. It was really quite a challenge to fill it out, honestly. I had to do a resume. I hadn't had a resume in years. But, you know, I want to substitute teach. Only in persistently low achieving schools and only in the 4th grade.
Wow, okay.
And we want to focus on these 4th graders and their families. And you know, parents are going to have to sign something. I mean, we can't just put all of this into this effort without a commitment from parents.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to have
Parents
to
gonna need to be partners.
Yeah, you're going to have to say, yes, I want, you know, I like the idea of Michael being able to go to college.
Right.
even though I never thought about it, and I don't know how I could ever afford that. But if you're telling me, Crystal Peoples-Stokes and the Grads Up Committee, that if we do this, what you say, from now until 2020, that Michael will go to college, yes, I'm a sign.
But I got to take the responsibility of making
Yes.
sure Michael do his
Michael
homework,
gets to
Michael
school.
get to school,
Does his
Michael is
homework.
following through. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because it has to be a partnership.
And if I need something to help me do that, then I'm going to find somebody to help me
That's
get
right.
that done. It's a commitment, and I think the parents have to make that, because otherwise, we'll be out there doing all the hoopla,
Right.
and they'll still be getting their nails done.
That's
I mean,
right.
I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm
Right.
just saying,
Right.
it's going to take a commitment from everybody here.
That's right.
And so the last piece of Grads Up is
So
to
in
raise
other
the
words,
money.
So the short part of it, we're not doing nothing for parents. We're doing stuff
With
with
the
parents.
parents.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
they
We're
can't sit back
engaging
and be a
them.
spectator.
That's
you have to
right.
be a participant in our own
The
process.
whole
Everybody has a
process.
role in this
Yes.
process.
From day one
From
to
day one.
graduation day
That's
of
right.
college. Now, I have a question in regards to what's going to happen when these young people graduate college. Are we hoping that they're actually going to take the talent and initiatives that they've learned in college and bring them back to the city of Buffalo to kind of build up our businesses, build up our economy? Is that another part of the
That would be a desire.
be a desire, but not
But
necessary?
you don't want to limit people.
Right.
I
Okay.
mean, but I think if you've had this experience from your 4th grade all the way straight through high school, where you've been connected to some agency, organization, people
People,
in
yeah.
your community, it's unlikely you're going to want to leave. And quite frankly, Buffalo's going to be so booming by then, you're not going to want to
Okay,
leave.
okay.
It's going to be a job for everybody
Uh-huh.
by 2020. And what we're doing is preparing them
That's right.
to not only get the job, but to get an education, for themselves, for their brother that's coming behind them, for their mother, for their father, for whoever. I mean, there's an opportunity here to grow the entire community based on one concept, and that is that every 4th grade student in the city of Buffalo, right now today, will graduate in 2020.
100% graduation.
100%
Now,
graduation.
you talked about the money part. You said there's another
Well,
part.
you got to raise money.
Right.
You got to raise money. You keep these things aren't free.
Right.
Although I think based on the income standards of most students in our district, they probably could go to school for little or nothing through the state's efforts. But we still want to provide money. And by the way, it would only be in state schools. I mean, we're not going to raise money for you to go to school in Chicago.
Right, I got you.
We,
Right.
we
We're
want
gonna
you to
support
stay in the
our
state of
own
New York.
system.
Yeah. So the third part of it is to do what we're calling Nickel City Awards, and I hate to talk about it too much because the committee is just kind of getting
Formulating.
formed. We had a
Okay.
really great meeting on it yesterday, but the idea is to bring back people who graduated from the Buffalo Public School District and who are just doing phenomenal things in other places in the country. And I mean phenomenal. I've had occasion to see and know and see what some of them are doing. This concept came from a good friend of mine, Ikanyo Ingram. I don't know if you all
Yes,
know
I
Ikanyo,
know-
but he's
I
a
know
he's a
Brother
Buffalonian, and
the circus.
Yeah, with
he's
the
with the
circus.
Universal
Yeah,
Soul
that's right.
Circus.
Yes.
The circus doesn't go
Awesome.
anywhere in the country without Ikanyo, being the front man. He gets there and gets everything done. So he sees people, that he knows from Buffalo all over the world. He came up with this idea of doing the Nickel City Awards around the Pine Grill. The first Friday or Saturday right
All
before
right.
the
People
Pine
here
Grill.
are in town
People
anyway.
already come back to town during then, right? So we're going to be raising money beginning August of 12. Will be the first Nickel City Awards, and we'll have one of those every year, and we hope that it grows in momentum, and we certainly hope that it grows in the amount of money that it's raising, so that when these young people are done, that we will have the resources available to make sure they go to college. Now, we're actually going to be using the Community Foundation as the holder of the dollars, if you will, because as you know, they're actually working on their own initiative to provide college access for Buffalo grads too. So, I feel really good about it. Everybody that I talk to about it, everybody, barring none, is excited.
Yes.
And they
Especially
want to help.
parents. And when you talked about it with parents, I mean, at the
Parents
DPCC
too.
meeting, they just just the idea of legislators stepping up and providing some real leadership about a conversation about how do we have a 100% graduation rate. We know one person got all the answers, but just to have a vision saying that this is something we should strive for, we should prioritize. Parents got really excited about
Well,
it.
nobody knows better than you all that it's a big problem.
That's right. It is.
And big problems require big solutions. I can't come up with a solution to fix the whole district.
Right.
But I think if we take one class at a time, that there's going to be some spin-off, some residual effects, both to the downward classes and upward classes that will benefit the whole district.
Okay.
Wow, I mean, I have a school full of fourth graders, if you would say Waterfront School, which is one of the PLA schools. Used to be a magnet school, now one of the persistently lowest achieving schools. And for me to go back and tell my fourth grade parents that, look, there's an opportunity for every one of our fourth graders to actually be tracked all the way up through college graduation. All you have to do is get on board. I'm excited to tell my parents that.
Yes.
I'm
Your principal
excited.
was excited as well.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
He
we
is
met
very
with the
excited.
principals
Mr. Hills.
and some of the teachers from all of the PLA schools already. We met with the interim superintendent and all of her management staff. You know, they're very excited because this is not this costs no money. Nobody has to spend anything extra.
What gets better than that?
We're already spending the money. As a matter of fact, most of the agencies that we're getting engaged are financed for state or either federal governments to deliver services to this exact constituency. So nobody has to change their mission or anything. All we're asking you to do is develop a relationship with this class, with the teacher and with the parents.
So if somebody wanted to get involved, whether it's a sponsor or whether what would they need to do to get involved with Grad Up 2020 at this point?
Well, they should just call my office. The number is 897-9714. They can speak to myself, or they can speak to a young man by the name of Arthur Duncan. Most people call him Tony Duncan. But he's the guy who's heading up Grads Up 2020 for. It's a community coalition, so it's not actually going to end up being, just the Office of Crystal Peoples. And everybody's involved. Brenda McDuffie from the Urban League is playing a very integral role here. As a matter of fact, a lot of these are her ideas that we're coming here with. So it's going to be a community-wide effort. But if anybody has resources they want to donate, people who they know that need to be, that they think should be one of the Nickel City honorees, and or they have an organization that would like to participate by adopting a class, then they can just simply call my office. The number is 897-9714.
All right, well, that's exciting, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of like builds a nice bridge into the next piece that we want to talk about, because let me just double check one thing with Grad Up 2020, because it may even make this the bridge even better. Now, Grad Up 2020 is going to focus on the 7 PLA schools. That's where we're going to initially focus.
We're going to focus on the 7 PLA schools.
Okay.
Now, the skies will be really shining on us if we get so many organizations that want to do this, that we can spread it through all fourth graders.
But we're going to start target.
We're going to start with the PLAs,
and then we're going to spread out if we can. So one of the things that we want to talk about now, having to do with the parent trigger legislation. Really, which is designed to deal with persistently low achieving schools. And so there's been a movement across the country. California already has legislation where, as opposed to school districts or parents waiting for school districts or administrations to come up with a plan to turn around persistently low achieving schools, the parent trigger gives an opportunity to follow through on the President's Race to the Top plan by putting power into parents' hands to let parents make the decisions where, basically, management and administration and, even board leadership have not been able to do the things necessary to turn around persistently low achieving schools. And here in Buffalo, just recently, the commissioner was here and he talked about a real challenge that we have here in Buffalo as it relates to persistently low achieving schools. But you stepped up and provided some leadership on that. Why don't you share about the parent trigger legislation that you have before the State Assembly right now?
Well, I'm excited about the opportunity to support the effort. I think it's way overdue. And, I had said that I was going to pay more attention to how things were going in California, but I hadn't actually done that. So is that going well in California?
Yeah, it's got a real fight from the union, but parents, that fight from the union is actually helping parents get better organized. So parents are continually to push to make it happen.
Okay, good, very good, because I actually, recently met with some union folks, and they only met with me for that one reason, because they opposed parent trigger, and they wanted to know why I was, introducing it. I was like, well, because I support the parents. I think it's, it's been so long since parents were this organized in the school district, and it's been so long since anybody was organized in the school district other than, those who had vested interests. So, as a matter of fact, it's been since the Build Academy days, since the community was organized in a way that wanted to say something about the condition of education of our children. So, to see that kind of organization and not support it, to me is like, why would I be in a position like this when I wouldn't support, parents who want to see a difference in their children's education? That's kind of like my role. I mean, don't I work for the people?
There you go.
I work for the people, so this is what the people need. This is what they want, and I know it to be true that it's the thing that will work. why would I not have the legislation in? So, you know,
And
I got a
also
lot of
with
good
that,
excuses for them why I shouldn't.
Right, but to go with that is also probably important to note that the state legislature actually provides, you know,
Most of the money.
more the majority of the money that comes to the Buffalo Public School District.
Yeah.
Right. So you're there fighting to bring the money to the district when it's all said and done, just like you fought for SUNY 2020. I mean, you're there making sure that, you know, we almost got $1 billion school budget, which almost about 600 million of that comes, you know, maybe 700 million come from the state. Yeah.
Yep, a huge chunk of the money comes from the state, and hopefully, you know, we'll get better results as parents are more and more involved. You know, one of the things that they said to me in their opposition, well, it doesn't have any other community-based folks in it. What if such and such organization wanted to be involved? I was like, you know what, you really gonna have to do better when you're reaching to find some reasons not to support something, because if there's a community-based organization out there who wants to see some changes in the kind of education we're receiving, where are they at the DPCC meetings? Are they joining the parents in their efforts? Because if they're not joining them, why would they be included at this point? You know, so I think that's just a terrible argument that they presented. And I'm hopeful that through my conversations with Kathy Nolan, who chairs the Education Committee, is that we will get the kind of dialogue on this bill that it deserves. And upon getting that, if there's some, and I actually offered this, you know, to the folks that were in my office recently, if you all have some ideas, some language that you'd like to see the bill amended, let me see it. Send it in. That's how legislation gets done. It starts out with one premise, and you know, a person who has a different opinion may want to send in some amendments. They may get added based on the sponsor's request or desire, or they may not get added, but at least there'll be conversation going back and forth about how do we get to the same resolve of allowing parents the opportunity to say, hey, you know what, this school is failing. It needs to be turned around. Let's try this.
Yes. The president said it the clearest to me. He said that there are 5% of the schools in this country that have been persistently low achieving for 40 years. He said, so you can take the other 95% and do whatever you want. He said, we cannot do the same old things with these 5% and expect anything different to happen. So at the end of the day, we're not against the teachers union. You know what I'm saying, when we talk about parent trigger legislation, what we're talking about.
Well, I'm not either, because I'm a former teacher.
And
my mother is a retired teacher,
That's right.
so you know.
Yeah, so we're also, and we're supportive of unions. At the end of the day, we want the same thing in the end, but right now what we can't support is a status quo that says that we'll secure people independent of the fact that we got a quarter of our schools who are persistently low achievement. We really got to come up with a plan, and if the teachers want to come to the table, the union want to come to the table, and actually we've talked to numbers of teachers. A lot of teachers are supportive of active parents being involved to be able to make a difference in our students' lives. So if the union wants to come to the table and talk about how do we collectively get a different result, there's no opposition to that. But what there is an opposition to is doing more of the same thing. I mean, for them to want the same thing and not want to negotiate to change it, and they have reason not to, actually, being real frank. They have reason to keep things the same because they benefit from the status quo. But parents and students don't. So
well, as a society, they may benefit temporarily in their pocket or in their current pensions or whatever. But as a society, we do not benefit from not educating people.
There you go.
You know, ignorant people do ignorant things.
That's true.
And when people are educated and know how to make good quality choices, we have a better society. And everybody should want that. I don't care what position you're at in life.
All right.
What exactly, if you could just lay out, what exactly can the parents do to support the Parent Trigger Bill and actually make it a law here?
Well, I think you can start by writing letters to the chair of the Education Committee, Kathy Nolan.
Okay.
You can write letters to Speaker Silver, Shelley Silver, and you can, you know, lay out the reasons why you think this has to happen, and how you need it to happen right now. You can also write other local legislators. Well, your representatives are pretty much the people who are carrying the bill, myself and Senator Grisanti. I mean, you can write us as well, because, you know, we'll take the letters and you know, and use them as why Kathy needs to go on and have this session, or maybe even the Senate can be the operative that holds the public hearing. That's a possibility. If, you know, Kathy keeps holding off, the Senate could move on it a little quicker. They have the ability to hold public hearings as well. And then the other thing you can do is start a petition. in every school.
Okay.
That says that, you say what you want at the top of it. We, the parents of Buffalo Public Schools District, would like to see this bill passed so that we can ensure that our voice is heard when schools are failing, and just have people sign it and get as many parents as you can to sign. Numbers speak volumes in America.
Yes.
They're either numbers with people in front of them, or numbers with numbers with people behind them, rather, or numbers with dollar signs in front of them.
That's right.
And you know which one wins the most, because that's the one that gets suspended the most.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that people can't beat out that dollar.
That's
People
right.
can beat that with numbers.
Well, we're looking at the whole Occupy Wall Street, movement, where where the whole
Absolutely.
idea is to challenge how the dollars are. I mean, the dollars can't drive everything. At some point, people have to matter. People have to be a human resource.
matter.
One of the things I'm reading a quote from John King, the Commissioner of Education, and he says that 13 of Buffalo schools, nearly 1 in 4, have been designated as persistently low achieving. In the next several weeks, more of the city's schools will receive this designation. That's a death sentence for the community. A community can't survive with failing schools, King told the Buffalo News. People ought to be outraged. People ought to be camping out in parks over the performance of their schools. The district's failure to submit adequate turnaround plans for 7 of its failing school points to a lack of necessary knowledge and skill both in central office and individual schools, he said. Added to that, he said there's a lack of political will on the part of the board, management, and labor to do the things necessary to turn around a school. I mean, essentially,
He's exactly right. There's a lack of political will.
and so ultimately that's what Parent Trigger does. It says if all that is going on, put it in the hands of the parents. If you get 60% of the parents who
Let's
willing,
try a different way.
here you go. I mean, I don't think I never heard such a more clear argument for the need for something like Parent Trigger. He's saying that we don't have at the management level or in the negotiation with labor management, they're not moving. And so our kids have to sit here. We literally lost $14 million that we were eligible for in funding because management and labor could not move an agenda to be able to get the money into the town to be able to turn around the school. So that means our children suffer for another year. Management is secure, labor is secure, all the political will that's there, it continues to do what it's doing, and our kids continue to suffer. So Parent Trigger will, as opposed to complaining about that, it'll put the power in the parents' hand. If you get 60% of the parents who are able to come out in support of it, they can call for it to be done.
Well, you know what? Folks often say if there was more money, we can make the class sizes smaller. We can do more one-on-one education, and all of those things will be better. But let's get real. There's not going to be more money.
Okay.
And even if there is more money, if there's not a commitment from the real stakeholders, the board, the management, and the unions, not just the teachers' union.
That's right.
All of them.
That's right.
To say that we're willing to change to make it better, why would you just keep sending more money? I mean,
There's
more
already
money
enough
is not the
There's plenty of
solution.
money right now.
Even if there was more money, and more money is not the solution. The solution is that we have to change the way we've been doing things. And if those folks are not willing to do it, then move out of the way and let somebody else do it. Let the parents do it. They say that they're willing to do it. They want to do it. Give them a chance to try it. I get so frustrated with this constant banner about parents don't do this, parents don't do that. Well, you know what? Now you have some parents who want to do something, and the only thing you can say is no. Come on.
Come on.
This is not cool. This is not even practical.
That's true.
We shouldn't be raising our children to act that way. We shouldn't be acting that way as adults. If it hasn't worked the way you've been doing it, then you need to try to fix it. Let's try this way. It's just real simple. It's basic.
And let me ask this question, and this may be an odd question to ask in this context, but what you just said just sounds really practical and it makes a lot of sense. And for some reason, all politicians don't take that position. I mean, it just seems like a practical position. Why is it that you are able to step up and do what other politicians haven't been done? Talk about just something practical. Talk about something that makes sense for the masses of your constituency. And obviously, that is common sense what you're saying, but it is not the political norm.
It's not political speak because I'm not, I don't have a commitment to a special interest. The special interest I have is the people I represent. I live down the street from children who go to Buffalo Public School Systems. When they're educated, they're not going to be writing on my house or throwing trash on the ground or, breaking car windows or doing anything destructive. They're going to be at home or somewhere playing basketball or playing that little game they like to play, which I wish they wouldn't play so much. So I'm not beholden to anybody else's agenda except the people who I represent. And so that way I can always remain, just objective and practical about whatever their issues are.
Well,
I don't have to wait to think, well, what are they going to say, whether or not they're going to finance my next campaign if I say this, or are they going to be mad at me, if I don't agree with what some people do get mad at me, as I mentioned to you earlier, that's about things you don't even know they're mad at you about. But basically, I'm trying to go to heaven. Just bring it back down.
Amen.
Well,
I got some people to see on the
we
other
want to just make
side.
sure, I know you got a question, but we just want to make sure as parents that I mean, from a position of a parent leader and having talked to politicians all across the range, that is a refreshing perspective. And I just want to make sure that as parents, we know how important it is to support leadership that does that. Leadership that steps up and does something like Grad Up 2020.
Yes.
Leadership that does something like the parent trigger legislation. Leadership that just brings people to the table and say, how do we do it differently because this is not working? That should be the norm. I mean, but to see it happening, we must support it. So we got to make sure every opportunity that comes to support that kind of leadership, we do it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I just wanted to say the fact that you're a member of the community. You are a community member. You're not just Assemblywoman Peoples Stokes. You're a neighbor. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're a neighbor to some child on your street that goes to a Buffalo public school, and it's just very important that the community, like John King said, the community should demand more of our district.
Right.
And I think it's very important that you're very vocal and you stand on the truth.
Yeah.
That's just the
Well,
bottom
I'm
line.
sure that I will get some proposed amendments back on the bill.
Okay.
And I look forward to, bringing it to your council meetings, sharing it with you all, getting your opinion on it. And I'll probably even have my legislative guy in with that one as well, so that we can, if there's some things we want to add or we want to change, we can do that. Or if we want to reject it, we can do that. And I also look forward to an opportunity to sit down with you all, with your executive committee, and maybe the executive committee from the BTF. To begin having some conversations on how we can really move some of these things, because I think your request for your MOU change with the sports piece, I think that's a thing that's relatively simple to do, and I would love to be in a give and take negotiation session to see why something like that couldn't happen.
Good. And we're going to stay with it till it's done. So we look forward to any opportunity that presents itself. So as we move to close, I mean, anything that you want to share, anything that's coming up in education, anything that's coming up with you that you want to share with the parents of the Buffalo Public School District?
Well, I'm glad that Commissioner was in town yesterday. I did try to see if I can get on his schedule for a few minutes, but I probably was busier than he was while he was here, actually. So I'm glad he was here, and I like the comments that he made in the paper, and I really hope that people are listening, not just the three entities that he mentioned, the board, administration, and labor. I hope that the philanthropic community was listening. I hope that the business community was listening, and I hope that the university community was listening, because we have got to get change in this community.
Right.
And no one should, unless they have the silver bullet, which they don't, then they should be supporting the parents, because at least that's a start.
That's right.
And you've definitely provided leadership on that, so we really want to thank you for that. You have any questions in closing?
I want to say whatever we got to do as a district, as parents, we got to save Lafayette High School. We can't let it close. Whatever has to happen, like the commissioner said, we got 3 months to get it done. I say we go ahead and get it done. We can't afford to have Lafayette close and have all those
Where would
students
those students go?
Where are they going to go?
Yeah, they're just going to
Where
get
are they
sent
gonna
to,
go?
and in a lot of cases, because so many schools are persistently low achieving schools, so they're going to go from one closed school to another persistently low. Because you obviously can't get into the good schools. Our work is cut out for us, but that's even more the reason that the District Parent Coordinating Council has to really step up. And let me just say this in closing. What we're really excited about, and we hope in Assemblywoman that you will be a part of our panel that night, is something that's going on in the district called Parent Assembly. The school superintendent has recently endorsed a plan by the District Parent Coordinating Council to pull together the Parent Assembly. The Parent Assembly is having a classroom representative, a classroom delegate from every school, every classroom in the district. So there are about 1,300 classrooms in the district. And so on December 8th at the Performing Arts High School, we will have all those parents delegate in a meeting where we will be there from basically 5:30 to 8:30, and we will be talking about the power and responsibility of the collective collective efforts of parents to turn around the school district. And so, where if you have
Very
a child,
good.
yeah. So if you have a child that's in a Buffalo Public School, you're eligible to be a classroom delegate, to be a homeroom parent. So we're asking you to contact your parent facilitator or your principal.
Yes.
Every school got somewhere between 24 and 50 classrooms, so that you can be one of a parent or an alternate. So we need as many parents to be involved in that as possible. By November 15th, we will have the names of all those parent assembly delegates. And so we're asking, and we'll be communicating with you, and we'll be talking about what our agenda is, and we'll be working with our state legislative delegation, as well as our congressional delegation, our Board of Education, to talk about how we partner to be able to ensure that we're able to turn around this district. So hopefully you can commit to December 8th and being there and being part of this parent assembly and the ongoing efforts of parents to organize themselves to be able to turn the school district around.
Well, you know what, I would love to, but unfortunately I don't manage my schedule.
Okay.
They took that out of my hands, which was a good thing. So I will have to check that out with Carmen and then get back to you on that. But that's a fabulous idea. How are the classroom delegates being selected?
The classroom, that's going to be determined by the parents in the classroom. So
Very
ideally
good.
what we're going to do is ask the parent facilitator to poll the parents in the classroom to see who's interested in it. If you got more than one person interested, the parents would elect their classroom delegate. This is really modeled after a situation that goes on in our school already. And City Honor School has this system already in place, and they basically, elect their delegates, and then they have grade level representatives as well as classroom representatives. So each school will do it, based on its skill sets and its capacity. And so hopefully what we'll end up with is we'll have it December 8th this year, then we'll have it again in either late April or early May. So we'll have 2 parent assemblies this year, and then next year we'll have 4. We have it in August, November, February, and May of 2012 and 2013.
Good, that's powerful growth. That's powerful growth, yeah.
So the plan is really just to grow parent involvement. I mean, not to talk parent involvement, because we kind of give it lip service a lot of the time, but to actually have it happen. And we've done a good job over the last year getting more parents involved. And so the goal is to take that to the next level. And then in 2013, the goal of parents is to be able to next to integrate the students. Last year, our goal was to get district level involvement increase. This year is building level involvement increase. And the last thing we want to do as part of the 3-year plan is next year, we want to make sure that there's a student government in every school, so that we have students represented just like we have parents represented. And then all of us as partners come together and do the work necessary as parents, student, teachers, administration, board, and other stakeholders to make sure that we get the results of Grad Up 2020, to make sure that every student graduates. Because at the end of the day, it's only going to happen when we make it happen. It's not going to happen by no magic.
That's right.
So we thank you for joining us today.
You're
we
very
thank
welcome.
you for taking
It's
the
my
time.
pleasure to be here.
We know you're busy, and the fact that you
Yeah.
took the time, and again, all the work you do for parents, we could not be thank you enough. So thank you again.
Well,
you.
it's
Thank
my
you.
job.
All right.
I'm
well,
grateful to do it.
We appreciate you doing your job. Thank you for joining us again for the Education Roundtable, where we bring to you the education stakeholders, the people who are making decisions about education. We've been really fortunate tonight. We have somebody who's not just making decisions, but actually providing real leadership for what we need to be doing for our children. And hopefully you as a parent will see value in supporting what Assemblywoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes is doing, as well as the District Parent Coordinating Council, and become more active. We're asking you to please join us. Join us the first Tuesday of every month at the Makowski School, so you can be part of the District Parent Coordinating Council effort to turn around this district. But if you can't join us, the most important thing is what you do for your child. So if you can make sure your child is up for school on time every day, make sure their homework is done, and if you can participate in your child's classroom in any kind of way, that's the most important thing you can do. But if you have a little bit extra time, you can provide support at the building level or the district level, we ask you to please do that. Again, if you have any questions, our number will be across the screen. You can join us. We have an office at 347 East Ferry Street. The District Parent Coordinating Council office at the Gateway Longview. You can stop in and you can see us in our offices if you have any questions. But we look forward to continue servicing you, and you have a great night.
Hello, I am Patricia Elliott, the District Parent Coordinating Council's Health and Wellness Committee Chairperson. I'm here to discuss with you today very briefly about our Youth Risk Behavior Survey that's happening next week. This is the countdown to our Youth Risk Behavior Survey. And what the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, it's a surveillance tool that was developed by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to assess the trends in priority health risk behaviors amongst our students. These health risk behaviors and conditions significantly affect our students' ability to succeed academically. They're going to be asking questions about unintentional injuries, violence, tobacco use, drug use, if any, sexual behaviors that contribute to unintended pregnancies, and sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV. Whatever unhealthy dietary behaviors that the students may have, any kind of physical inactivity, plus overweight instances and asthma. What's going to happen is there's a lot of benefits to having this survey and collecting this type of data from the Buffalo Public School students, particularly to identify by school, age, sex, the areas of greatest need, so that health programs and services can be implemented in our schools. It's a very inexpensive process, will not cost us any money. The students that's going to be taking this survey are students between grades 6 through 12. And they're going to complete the survey online during a classroom day, either in their classroom, in a library, computer lab, or depending on whatever the resources is in their school. This is going to happen this month, next week, October 24th through October 28th, 2011. It's going to happen in school. It's going to be one class period that it's going to happen in. And the reason why is because we're going to inform decisions made by superintendent, the school board, building principals, Buffalo Public Schools Health and Wellness Council, relevant committees, DPCC Health and Wellness Committee, and the community related to the student behaviors. The results are going to provide valid, useful information on risky behaviors in which students are engaged. So if you can, remind your child to be honest, and just know, parents, that your children have the opportunity to opt out if they choose not to do it. So remind your child to be honest in taking the survey. Encourage your child, if you can, to take the survey. Know that there's no names attached. It's an anonymous survey, and it's only going to happen in one class period between the week of October 24th and October 28th. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing the results from the survey. Have a great day.